Hey YouTube, Kevin Cleary with a knife video for you. And today I've got a pretty cool blade. This is the Spyderco Domino. This is a knife that I was sort of on the fence about for a little while, and when it first came out I wasn't sure. I waited, I watched the reviews, and I watched the reviews again, and I looked at it, and finally about a year ago or maybe 6 months ago I decided, hey, I would like to get one, but I still didn't rush out and buy it. Until I saw the blue Twill G10 version, or the blue Twill carbon fiber version of this knife. I said blue G10 because of this knife, which I'm also going to show you. This is the bento box exclusive version, and I was kind of thinking of that when I was describing this one. This, of course, is the blue Twill G10. Looks really, really sharp. I really like this, and I actually like both of these variations. In terms of just subjectivity, right? Just aesthetics and look. I like both of them a little better than the black version. That's not to say I don't like the black checked carbon fiber laminate. I think it's great. I love my Zabo, which has it. But I just think this looks really, really sharp. Okay. By the way, this is the buy, and I didn't know this at the time. I just bought it. I said, hey, that looks awesome. That's the one I want. When it came in box, the education paper says that it's a Blue Ridge Knives exclusive. So I don't know if it's, how many are out there. I don't know if it's a limited run or if they've just, maybe they asked Spyderco to make 100,000. Who knows? So I can't tell you anything about, and I tried to look to see if I could find out, and I couldn't really find out much about numbers. So I have no idea how many of these are out there. If you're interested in one, you may want to pick it up shortly, but I could be totally leading you astray. Maybe they made 1 million of them and you'll be able to get them forever, and it's going to be an ongoing thing. I don't know. All I know is I really, really like this version of the Domino. So let's go on to size and weight. So I should point out both of these. This is the bento box exclusive. This is the Blue Ridge Knives exclusive. But this one's not very exclusive. This one, of course, you have to buy from Bento Box Shop. This one you can find everywhere. Knifeworks has it, Blade HQ has it, Knife Center has it, GP Knives has it. Probably Amazon.com has it. I didn't check there, but lots of them around. Very easy to come by. So it's not that they're exclusively offered anywhere. Okay, so let's get into size and weight. That's one of the things that is very different about this knife than most of my collection. You guys know, generally speaking, I prefer larger knives. There are some exceptions like the Blur and now like the Domino. So this knife is only 7 5/8 inches. That's pretty small. Generally, my minimum size for a knife that I'm going to carry is 8 inches. But in this case, once I got it in hand, and of course, once I decided to buy and check it out, I got this one in hand and I was like, hey, this is really good. I like the ability to choke up. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but so although this is small for me, 7 5/8, I really like it. The blade on this is only 3 1/8, and when it's closed, it's 4 1/2 inches. Okay, so 4 1/2 inches. 7 5/8 inches, and this is 3 1/8. The blade is 3 1/8 inches. There is a 3-inch cutting edge here, and the weight on this is 4.1 ounces, which is really good. Now, 4.1 ounces for a knife this size, okay, is only so-so. But remember, this is a titanium frame lock, and both sides are titanium. It's not just the carbon fiber laminate on this side, which obviously would cut some weight out. It is also milled out, not terribly aggressively, but it's certainly been done. And I don't know, I can barely see it with the naked eye, so I'll try to show it to you on camera when we get to the handle. Hopefully, I may forget by the time we get that far in, but hopefully I'll remember to show you that, and you may or may not be able to see it. Why don't we do it now so I know I don't forget? Somewhere right around there, the light should shine in there, and you can maybe see the holes that have been cut into the top here. So if I look from this side, there is a hole here, 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 and here. Okay, here, 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 and here. So it's not aggressively milled out, but it is milled out. So now, if I forget later, that's fine. If I show you again later, that's fine too. Let's talk about the blade because, oh wait, before I talk about the blade, I want to give you some comparisons, okay? Because this is a very Spyderco, right? It's designed by Eric Glesser. It definitely has all of the features of a Spyderco, the leaf-shaped blade, the spider hole. Everything says Spyderco about this knife. So let's compare it to a couple of others. Here's the Mannix. These two are very similar, okay? Both Eric Lesser designs, and you can kind of tell by looking at them. They both have the typical, I heard some guy recently call it Spydernomics, where they put the finger choil up here. I like that finger choil, by the way. But both of these are very similar. The Mannix is a little bigger, although the blade, you're not getting any extra cutting edge. But somehow the blade is a little longer and the handle is a little longer. So it's a bit bigger overall, okay? Let's see, what else have we got? The Tenacious is a knife that a lot of people have, right? So this should give you a good sense of size. You can see these are almost the exact same size, the Tenacious and the Domino. And so yeah, if you've got a Tenacious in your collection, you know you're getting a knife that's almost the same size, although with considerably less cutting edge, okay? Very quickly here, if I hold these like cutting edge to cutting edge, right? So you can see the Domino starts here, the Tenacious starts here. You can see that there's a lot more cutting power or cutting edge in the Tenacious, and partially that's because of this, and partially it's just because of the overall blade shape. One last comparison, and that is to the Para 2, another very common blade. This is the LMAX Para 2, but again, you can see there's considerably more knife here, bigger handle, bigger blade. One thing that is close is that the Tenacious only has about a 1/4 inch more cutting edge. I think the Tenacious is like 3 1/4 inches of cutting edge. The Domino is basically 3 inches of cutting edge right on. So those are some comparisons for you that should give you a better idea. If you got one of those in your collection, you kind of take it out and hold it in your hand and go, okay, the Domino is going to be like a little smaller than the Para 2 or the Mannix, but it's almost exactly the same size as the Tenacious, just with less blade, okay? So that's sort of the comparisons that I wanted to get out of the way. Let's go on and talk about this blade. Typical Spyderco blade, okay? Leaf shape, full flat grind, very, very acute point. We do have some jimping on the back of the blade as well as that finger choil at the front, which is pretty typical of Spyderco. Let me zoom in so you can get a better look at the knife. This is a beautiful knife to look at. At some point through the video I'll switch out so you can see the bento box version a little more. So there you go. Let's go back over that stuff. So full flat grind. By the way, this is a smaller spider hole. Let me grab the Mannix really quick. Notice the size of the hole on the Mannix is much bigger. So yeah, beautiful knife, full flat grind, CTX XHP blade steel. Now if you go on Carpenter Steel's website, they describe this steel as either an upgraded version of 440C, which is good, or, which I like even better, a corrosion resistant D2. Okay, now that is awesome. D2, if you don't know, is one of my favorite steels, extremely good, and to suggest that this steel is a corrosion resistant D2 means it is nearly a perfect steel. Definitely a modern super steel. Very, very good. You know, D2 is almost ideal as far as I'm concerned. And so you take that steel that I love that much and then say, make it a stainless, right? D2 is not a stainless steel. So you make it a stainless steel and that is just great. Okay, so that's the steel that is on this and typically on Dominoes, okay? The bento box is CTS 204P, but we're gonna just ignore that for the purposes of this video. All right, so what else we need to know about the blade? It is pretty well all belly. And the tip is very fine, okay? So there is some risk. Don't go prying with this or stabbing it into anything overly tough because there is a risk of breaking that off. However, outside of that, it's a very, very capable blade, very comfortable. Ergonomics are very good. And so, yeah, nothing terribly new about this particular blade shape. If you're a Spyderco fan or if you know a lot about Spydercos, you're getting a blade shape that is fairly consistent for them with their leaf-shaped blade, and it is a very good, capable blade shape, so it's no wonder they keep using it. Let's go on to deployment and lockup. We'll switch for that just so that you've got something else on camera. So there's the bento box Domino. It is in CTS 204P, and this blade is a very good flipper, okay? Extremely fast as any assisted opening knife I have. Maybe even faster. In fact, it would be a lot faster than a number of assisted opening knives I have. Flips very, very easily. You know, you could give this to someone who's not really a knife person and they're going to say, hey, great blade. Now, I will say this, it's not my fastest flipper. That distinction goes to the Buck Marksman. I will do a review on that at some point in the future, but the Buck Marksman is incredible in terms of its ability to flip out really, really fast. This would be a close second though. Very, very good. Flips out very well. And that's not that easy to achieve. Not every knife company, not every knife maker gets it right. But this is a blade that flips out. It just wants to be out. And it doesn't matter if you light switch it or if you more push button it. It comes out fast and hard either way. So very, very good deployment. By the way, you can also Spidey flick this pretty easily. You can flick it open with your thumb pretty easily. I know I'm going out of focus by doing all that stuff, but I thought it was worth showing you. So this is a nice blade that you can really, really access quite easily. So deployment is excellent. Lockup is also excellent. Now I think we're zoomed in close enough that you can see here the stainless steel lock bar insert. By the way, probably some of you are going, Kevin, don't you have a Southern? Why aren't you comparing it to the Southern? Well, I don't have a Southern anymore. I just didn't carry it. I like the Southern, and I would never say a bad thing about it. I totally enjoyed owning it, but I just found that if I wanted, there were other knives that I'd rather carry, and so it just sat on the shelf, and I decided to get rid of it. Also, when you're trying to buy something expensive, like you guys know, I picked up a couple of higher-end knives lately, that helped to finance those, okay? So, stainless steel lock bar insert, and what they've done with this is the lock bar insert, you should be able to see it there at that angle, extends down and also serves as the spot where your finger disengages the lock. Let's see if I can show you from the same side. Man, I'm struggling here. So right here where your finger pushes the lock over so you can close the knife is part of that stainless steel lock bar insert, and it is also an over travel stop, okay? There's no way to really show you that effectively on camera. I guess if you look in the back of the blade there, see the little piece of, you can see a silver line right here. That's the back of what you can see right here, the lock bar insert. And what it does is it extends back behind. So if you could, x-ray back in here, right by where my finger is, there's a piece of metal that kind of extends out this way and serves as an over travel stop, so you can't overextend the lock bar. All right, is that really necessary? Probably not, but it's there nonetheless. The lock is very strong. One of the things that I have mentioned in the past is that Spyderco has a few blades out there, especially the Endura, the Delica. The Manix is fine, although the lightweight version, of course, is an all plastic handle. But here's a bit of a change from what Spyderco is doing. This is going to be a very solid, very strong lock. I mean, it is a titanium frame lock, which of course is known to be a good, strong lock. So if you want something, let's say you like the Manix, or you want something a little more hardy, I think this would be a good option. It is a ball bearing pivot system, and I'll be honest, I do not know how to feel about ball bearing pivots. Although I like the way they actuate, I love the way the blade is very smooth, that's all well and good, but could dirt and grime and crap get in there and mess up your action? I would say probably so. The caged ball bearings are probably a little better, and I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Obviously, if you get dirt and grime in there, you can clean things out with WD-40 and maybe forced air, different options. You can clean things, and that's great. But I'm just pointing out that, I know it's really popular, and it's definitely the trend right now to put a ball bearing pivot system in everything. But I'm not sure if it's the end-all and be-all that some people seem to think it is. All right. Let's move on to the handle. Now I'm going to put this knife down for the handle portion because it is G10. Of course, G10 is going to be a very different thing than carbon fiber. So let's pick up the carbon fiber version again and talk about that. And I can tell you from experience, because I have both versions of the carbon fiber, that they're not that different in terms of grippiness, and they do have some grippiness. There's a texture here. Okay, this is not like the carbon fiber you may be used to if let's say you have a zero tolerance 0452 or a 0552 or a 0562 or a 0550 CF or lots of carbon fiber knives. My Viper Maga and a bunch of other carbon fiber knives. They're very, very smooth. Okay, this is not smooth. It definitely has a very very noticeable texture, and that texture is for sure adding some grip. Okay, so definitely there's some grip there. One place that isn't adding as much grip as it could be is the jimping here on the back of the spine. It would be nice to see this just a little bit sharper, and then who knows how it finishes that way, but others have commented that a number of the Taichung Spydercos, the jimping is not as abrasive, it's not as grippy as others, and I would agree with that assessment. This jimping is not terribly functional. It's there and it's fine. I'm going to come back out a little bit. I'm still zoomed in a little bit so you can get a better look at the knife, but I was kind of done sitting off to the side of the screen that way. So yeah, jimping is not as functional as it could be. Otherwise, though, the ergonomics are actually quite good. You can definitely choke up on this, and you can choke with this finger in the choil. You can get your thumb up here on the blade, and you've got a very fine cutting tool. Okay, you can still back off and do larger things, larger cutting tasks, but it's nice to have that variation available. Now, as you can see, I don't think I have huge hands. I probably wear a size large glove. There's not enough here. I can get a full forefinger grip, no problem, but there's no pommel sticking out past. Compare that to, not the other Domino, compare that to the Mannix. If I take a full forefinger grip on here, there is a little bit of choil coming out, or I mean a little bit of the pommel coming out past my fingers. Okay, if you had huge hands, you might find this knife too small. And here's one of the things that I'm going to suggest here. If someone from Spyderco ever watches this, I think a sized up Domino would be an amazing blade. If this was a full 3.5 inch blade and this was maybe full 5 inch handle, this would be just brilliant. Okay, it would be maybe the best Spyderco ever made. In terms of, for my mileage, I would totally love that. That would be amazing. And I think you'd sell a lot of them because I think there's others who would also like that larger size. I think that would be a really, really cool option to offer, is a Domino XL like the Mannix XL. All right, I think there's not much more to say about the handle other than to point out it is obviously a titanium frame lock, and it's a well done titanium frame lock. I already pointed out the milling there on the carbon fiber side. I should add that both of these, which is really cool, both sides of the frame are titanium. That's really nice. Probably many of you have noticed that if you have a 0560 or a 0300 or a bunch of zero tolerances, they're titanium frame locks, but the scale side, the G10 side, has a stainless steel backer, or the frame is essentially stainless steel with a carbon fiber or G10 or some other kind of scale on it. In this case, you've got titanium throughout, which is really nice. I would add one other thing, and that is the fit and finish on this is excellent. Many people commented on the Southern, which was Spyderco's first flipper, as having phenomenal fit and finish, and this is no slouch at all. It's every bit as good as a Southern in terms of fit and finish. One last thing that I would say, and that is in terms of the pocket clip. Just a standard Spyderco clip, which is great. Oh, I'll mention the lanyard hole too is fine. I think you could fit 550 cord through there, no problem. I'm not a big lanyard guy, although I've thought about it on this knife because of its slightly smaller size. Anyway, back to the pocket clip. It's there, it works just fine, but it's not the greatest pocket clip ever. It's just a standard Spyderco clip. So, you guys know I love Casey Lynch clips. Just so happens that his clips with the 3-hole configuration like this will fit on the Domino, and I will be adding a Casey Lynch deep carry pocket clip to this particular knife. The bento box knife is going to stay as it came, okay? So overall, this is a great little EDC. It's got tons of utility here. There's tons of pride of ownership. You know, it's a titanium frame lock. I really love the blue Twill carbon fiber. It's a pretty knife. It's definitely a knife that you're going to want to show to your friends, that people are going to say, hey, that's a pretty cool blade. It's got all the things that it needs to have, although it may have more, okay? And the two things I want to mention that are maybe more are, of course, the lock bar insert and the ball bearing pivot. Does it really need to have a ball bearing pivot? You know, if you just had the phosphor bronze bushings out of the Para 2 in here, would it still flip like this? I'll bet you it would be pretty darn close, okay? Further, the lock bar insert, there's a great deal of debate and discussion about that, whether or not it's totally necessary, whether or not any person in normal use is going to put enough wear on their knife to actually need it, or whether or not you can just carbonize this and kind of be done with it, okay? So I think all of those thoughts are worth considering. None of them make it a bad knife. None of them, you know, I'm not going to say, well, because they put a lock bar insert in this, I don't want to buy it. That's not true at all. I think those things are totally supplementary. They're kind of beside the point. This is a great knife, and none of those things take anything away from this knife. I'm just kind of noting some trends in the knife world right now that, you know, every sort of titanium flipper has certain characteristics. The only thing this thing is missing to give it like everything that a titanium frame lock is supposed to have is if it had a hinderer, you know, lock bar stabilizer, then it would just have everything, right? Are all those things necessary? I think Chris Reed would say probably not, even though in the 25 there is a ceramic ball that interfaces with the blade rather than the titanium. So essentially he's doing a lock bar insert as well. Anyway, overall, I really like this blade. I have tons of use from it. I don't think, you know, if you're kind of on the fence about this, or if you don't have one and you're thinking about it, I don't think you'll be even the slightest bit disappointed. So here's one last look at these two very, very cool Spydercos. There's the frame lock side and the handle side, or the show side, and here's the opposite. There's the frame lock side of this one and the show side. Beautiful blades, very ergonomic, very fun to own and use. Just, they really mark off all the things you want. They're, you know, good size and weight, good utility, good strength, good durability, pride of ownership, high-end materials, lots and lots to like about these guys. I really enjoy them, and I'm glad they're in my collection. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk to you soon.